Well, hello everybody. So that's where I gave my last vlog, and I thought, well, I might bring you into the wondrous office for this vlog. So turn around, Owen. That's enough of looking at that place, which actually looks a bit dodgy. So this is the licensing and ventures bit of OUI. So as you can see, it's quite big. Lots of people doing work. One of the big questions that people ask me about humanities and social sciences is, how do you start? And it made me think, because obviously we've got lots of capacity here, and how does a small tech transfer office get started in this sort of thing? But everyone's busy, everyone's got things to do. We've got a lot of science going on in this place, and actually finding the time to develop business in humanities and social sciences is quite difficult. But I didn't do it. I didn't start the whole process off. It was actually a lady called Susan Clark, and she started quite a long time ago. And we're going to meet her and talk to her and ask how this all started in OUI. So the question is, I get asked all the time, how do you get going in humanities and social sciences? When did you first start?
Well, it goes back quite a long way, nearly 10 years now. I've been with Oxford University Innovation, and it's been quite a long journey, I have to say. When I first started 10 years ago, there was very little activity of any kind in the social sciences and humanities. And you'd expect more in social sciences, but there was hardly any at all. And I started on the consultancy side, so I joined the consulting services side of our business, and that's really where it all came from, where it all started.
So is it your job to start off with just to focus on humanities and social sciences, or did you have to do everything else as well?
I did do everything else as well.
Okay.
Yes.
So what else did you do? What else did you cover?
That's an interesting question. So I think it's actually quite pertinent, and it just helps to broaden the whole sphere of what I was doing. So I also worked in our other divisions within the university. So I worked in medical sciences, particularly in the OCDEM division for diabetes. And I worked in MPLS. I did some, projects in engineering.
So for those people outside of Oxford, MPLS is maths, physics, life sciences.
Yes,
so basically science. So basically, so you were spending a lot of the time in the science division. So what proportion of time were you sort of separating, spreading between sciences and humanities and social sciences?
Probably about 50-50 to start with.
Okay.
And when you consider it, there was no work to do in the social sciences. So my job when I first came in was actually to create, the environment where work was coming in. We find, I think consulting is a fantastic place to start, because it helps to establish relationships. It gets you known across the university, and you can also act as a linchpin when you're talking to different people for cross collaboration as well.
So that's a pretty big investment in time, though. 50% of your time in humanities and social sciences. So that's interesting.
Yes, that's true.
So what did you actually do?
Well,
how did you spend that 50%?
Yes, much of it was based around setting a strategy to start with, looking at what other universities were doing in the area, very successful universities in consultancy, looking what they were doing in the area.
Who were they then? Which were the good ones?
Well, Imperial has always been out there for consultancy, very large amounts of consultancy they do, and that's a good one to look at. But in general, just looking across, Cambridge is obviously very good too, UCL. So looking at the different universities and how they approached it, and what kind of strategies they were using, and how they achieved their success. Looking then back at our own university and really how you could actually market our service, because I think the main thing that's missing probably across most universities, and this has been borne out by research, is that academics don't know you exist as a technology transfer office. They don't know what they don't know you exist, and if they do, it's like a black box, and they don't know what you do. That's not everybody, but for the majority that we work with, that's what's coming out. So it was really is it worthwhile going to external companies, spending your efforts marketing and doing business development strategy in external, or is it your internal market that you need to work with? And I found that the internal market actually was where it was at, and actually being reactive was not a bad thing. It seems to me that the clients tend to look for consultancy by going onto Google. They find the right people to do the job. They don't need to come to an organisation like ours to do that. They go to Google and they find the person that they need. They go to that person, and then it's really making that person aware, the academic aware, that we exist and we're here to help them and to support them.
So, that's exactly. So you focused on the internal market.
So we focused on the internal market.
So average day.
Yes.
Not that we have an average day here, but
yes.
What did you actually do? So
well, one of the things we did was with a colleague of mine in the consulting services group, we put together a platform for a workshop.
Okay.
So we actually made it very interactive, and we went out that particular year when we first got this going. We went out and we did 13 workshops across the university, and that does, even though you don't immediately get a response from that, over a period of time, people do start to understand exactly what they need, what they need to do, come to you if they need the help, and it gets the word out there. So that was really a really good start. We did lots of one-to-one meetings, particularly in social sciences, actually makes a big difference. So
how did you get those meetings organised? What did you do? How did you choose who to speak to?
Yes.
Or did they speak to you?
Well, it's actually getting the key people in the departments to actually signpost for you. So it's using the resources around the university to the best you can. So I would go and talk to administrators, make sure that they were aware of what we were doing. If they have new people coming in, let them know that we exist and what we do. Same with heads of departments, going and talking to them, getting them on board with what we're doing. I think when the ref came in a few years ago with the impact agenda being very high, people was very important. I think that made a big difference because it was really seen, consultancy in particular was seen as a pathway to impact.
It's a quick one as well, isn't it?
It's a quick one. So it was really very useful for us because it got the message out that actually consultancy is very compatible with research and actually is one way to actually get your research out into the public domain. And that was a real key. So the heads of department, recognised that. And they were very useful in actually spreading the word too. And I would go along to like research committee meetings and speak to senior academics, and that's the way that you really get the message out that we exist and what we do. So
when I joined and started on humanities and social sciences, you took me out to a few dinners with some of these academics as well, didn't you? I mean, that was a good way of doing it as well.
It is a good way of doing it. You can't do it all the time.
No, of course you can't.
It's not good for your waistline. But yes, definitely. I mean, actually talking to academics in a relaxed environment does actually help as well. Looking at key sort of like signalling points that you can get. So it's using the resources around the university.
Okay. And so obviously, so the strategy is it's almost like a pyramid strategy, isn't it? So you've got your, make people aware, then focus on key individuals for signposting, and then you identify potential academics who maybe have been approached in the past. And so obviously you're going to get attrition at every stage, but you get some across the line. So what did those first few successes look like? I mean, what were those first deals? Where were they? What were they for?
Well, I think our Department of Education was extremely good at sort of turning new academics into wanting to do consultancy, and they were very instrumental in getting a lot of those projects off the ground. I mean, one of them, for instance, I remember with the deanery that was set up in education, which was set up specifically to support local schools. One of them we had was a consultancy with Oxford Council, for a leadership program with local teachers.
Okay.
Which, I mean, it's a great way of actually using your research to actually help local schools.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's an ideal example. And, you know, that went on for 3 years. It was an excellent program. We did it with Oxford Brookes, great collaboration. And the council were very pleased with the results of that.
Yeah. So what I found when I started was that the ground wasn't fallow. It was, I mean, there was plenty of opportunity out there, but
Yes.
I almost felt like I had a running start because
Yeah.
you'd made all the connections already.
Yes.
So looking at other universities, do you think actually consultancy might be a good way of starting in humanities and social sciences before going over it to sort of the licenses and the spin-outs and things like that?
I do think so. I think doing consultancy, you know, in other universities, I think that would be really helpful to start with that as a foundation stone, because you do establish relationships and you establish reputation, and reputation is so important because that's what you build on. And you know, one academic will tell another academic, you know, you should go and see these people, and you know, ideas, when they get ideas, and they'll bring them to you.
Yeah.
And you know, even I mean, I did have a lot of people approaching me with ideas for commercialisation, and even though it wasn't specifically my job to do it, there was no real person in the organisation, that one person that you could actually go to on the commercialisation side, and I felt that social sciences and humanities needed a different approach to the normal tech transfer, hard IP, concrete widgets.
Oh yeah.
Social sciences and humanities seem to me to be a people. It's like much more about people, and needed much more support to actually get projects like commercialisation projects off the ground.
Yeah.
And it's just using resources around the university and within your own company to the best you can. But I did find that when you came in, there was actually lots of opportunities which you could actually, and you were talking the same language as the social scientists and the humanitarians. So
maybe that's because I'm not a very good scientist. But anyway.
But I mean, that was the good thing, was that you're on the same page and same wavelength, and that's so important, to get onto the same page and wavelength as the people you're dealing with. And to listen to them.
Oh, listening. No, that's really important.
Yeah.
Susan, thank you very much for spending your time talking on my vlog.
Very pleasure.
I don't know what we're going to be talking about in 2 weeks' time, but if you've got any ideas, if there's something that you want us to talk about, any burning questions, happily deal with them in the next vlog. Otherwise, see you again in 2 weeks.